You often think you are invisible because you are quiet. You think that because you don't scream for attention, no one sees you. But you are wrong. There is someone watching you, not with judgment, but with hunger. To a specific type of person, your silence is not empty. It is magnetic. They don't just like you. They are dangerously, insanely in love with you. And because you are so rare, so hard to catch and impossible to keep, they want you all to themselves. They want to hoard your time like gold. Here are the 9 signs that someone is obsessed with your soul. 1. They remember the microdata. In the chaotic noise of modern dating, where most conversations are merely 2 people waiting for their turn to speak, the act of truly listening has become a lost art. However, when someone is insanely, deeply in love with a Sigma female, they do not just listen, they archive. They become a detailed detective, a historian of your existence who treats every syllable you utter as a piece of high-value intelligence. This behavior is particularly profound because of who you are. As a Sigma, you are not a broadcaster. You do not flood your social media with your every thought, nor do you dump your emotional baggage on everyone you meet. You are a vault. You speak in headlines, not editorials. Therefore, on the rare occasions when you do open up, when you mention a specific preference, a childhood memory, or a fleeting desire, that information is scarce, and in the laws of economics, scarcity creates value. The person who is obsessed with you understands this intuitively. They realize that your words are not just filler. They are clues to the treasure map of your inner world, and they are terrified of missing a single one. This manifests in a way that often shocks you. You might mention in passing that you prefer the smell of old books to new ones, or that you have a specific allergy to a certain type of fabric. To an average partner, this is background noise, deleted from their short-term memory the moment the conversation shifts. But to the person who wants you all to themselves, this is microdata that is immediately filed away in the permanent record. 3 weeks later, he brings you a first edition of a classic novel, not because it's a generic gift, but because he remembered the smell you described. He orders your coffee exactly the way you like it. Black, 2 ice cubes, no sugar, before you even reach the counter. He notices that you rub your left temple when you're getting a migraine, and he hands you a glass of water and an aspirin before you even have to ask. This level of attentiveness is not accidental. It is a deliberate study. He is observing you with the intensity of a scientist and the adoration of a devotee. He is learning the rhythm of your silence and the syntax of your soul. This behavior goes beyond simple thoughtfulness. It is a sign of deep psychological intimacy. They are trying to bypass the public mask that you wear for the rest of the world and connect directly with the private self. They know that you are used to being misunderstood or overlooked because you are quiet. By remembering the microdata, they are sending a powerful, silent signal. I see you. I hear you. You are not invisible to me. They are building a mental model of you that is so accurate they can anticipate your needs before you articulate them. This creates a terrifyingly beautiful sense of safety for the Sigma female. You realize that you don't have to explain yourself constantly. You don't have to fight to be understood. You can simply be, knowing that there is someone standing guard over the details of your life, cherishing the fragments that everyone else ignores. They are not just remembering facts. They are memorizing you, piece by piece, because they want to own the complete picture. 2. They don't force the talk. In the frenetic, hyper-connected landscape of modern relationships, silence is almost universally pathologized. It is viewed as a symptom of disinterest, a precursor to conflict, or a void that must be frantically filled with chatter to prove that the connection is alive. For the vast majority of people, a pause in conversation triggers a spike in anxiety. They wonder, are they bored? Is something wrong? Why aren't we talking? However, the Sigma female operates on a completely different frequency. For you, silence is not an absence of communication. It is a presence of peace. It is the natural habitat of your mind. Therefore, when someone is insanely in love with you, when they have truly calibrated their soul to yours, they do not try to colonize your silence with noise. They become a silence sharer. They understand that you do not need to be entertained, and you certainly do not need to perform. They are content to simply exist in your orbit, engaging in what psychologists call parallel play, where you can be reading a book on the couch while they work at the table, neither of you speaking for hours, yet both of you feeling profoundly connected. This specific dynamic is the ultimate litmus test for a Sigma's romantic compatibility. When a person is obsessed with you in a healthy way, they find your quietness magnetic, not terrifying. They do not interpret your lack of words as a rejection. They interpret it as trust. They know that you only let your guard down when you feel safe enough to stop broadcasting. To them, the ability to sit in a car for 2 hours without saying a word, just holding hands or listening to the hum of the engine, is a form of intimacy far deeper than any late-night philosophical debate. It signals that the relationship has moved beyond the superficial need for validation and into the realm of being. They are not draining your battery. They are sitting next to you while you recharge it. This creates a rare and addictive atmosphere of alone together, where you get all the benefits of solitude, the freedom to think, to daydream, to decompress, with the added warmth of companionship. Furthermore, this comfort in silence indicates that they are not using you as a distraction from their own thoughts. Many people date because they cannot stand to be alone with themselves. They need a partner to act as a constant stimulus. But the person who loves a Sigma female loves her for her essence, not her utility. They are secure enough in themselves to let the silence stretch out, knowing that the connection is taut and strong underneath. They value your presence more than your performance. They would rather sit in a quiet room with you than be at a loud party with anyone else. This reverence for your need for quiet transforms the relationship from a job where you have to constantly clock in and be social into a sanctuary. You realize that you don't have to put on the extrovert mask for them. You can just be your authentic, introverted, observant self, and to them, that silent version of you is the most beautiful thing in the world. They are not waiting for you to speak. They are just happy that you are there. 3. They protect your peace. In a society that relentlessly celebrates extroversion, conflating constant social availability with happiness and silence with rudeness, the Sigma female often finds herself fighting a losing battle against the energy vampires. You operate on a very specific, finite internal battery. While others gain energy from the crowd, you spend it. Every conversation, every fake smile, and every moment of forced pleasantry is a debit from your account. Most partners, unfortunately, view this trait as a defect. They get annoyed when you want to leave the party early. They guilt-trip you for staying home on a Friday night. They treat your need for solitude as a personal rejection or a sign of depression. They become yet another drain on your resources. However, when someone is insanely deeply in love with you, when they have studied the architecture of your soul, they do not judge your limits. They defend them. They become your energy bodyguard. They take on the role of the fierce protector, not of your physical safety, though often that too, but of your psychological peace. They realize that your energy is a rare and precious commodity, and they are the self-appointed gatekeeper, ensuring that the world does not bleed you dry. This dynamic manifests in subtle, life-altering ways. At a crowded social gathering, while everyone else is drinking and shouting, the energy bodyguard is watching you. They are attuned to your micro-expressions. They notice the exact moment your social battery hits zero, the slight glazing of the eyes, the subtle shift in posture, the way you start to retreat into yourself. Before you even have to whisper the words, "I want to go," they are already moving. They step in. They make the excuses. They tell the host, "We have an early morning," or "She's had a long week," taking the social hit so you don't have to. They become the villain of the party so that you can remain the queen who exits gracefully. They do not make you beg for permission to leave. They facilitate the escape plan. They prioritize your well-being over their own fear of missing out, FOMO, or their desire to be the life of the party. To them, a night out is only successful if you come home with your peace of mind intact. Furthermore, this protection extends beyond just leaving parties. It permeates your daily life. They screen phone calls for you. They turn down draining invitations on your behalf because they know you would say yes out of obligation and then dread it for weeks. They create a buffer zone around you where you are allowed to just be without the pressure to perform. This is the ultimate sign of love for a Sigma because it validates your nature. It tells you that you do not have to change to be loved. You do not have to become a bubbly, high-energy extrovert to deserve affection. You are allowed to be quiet, reserved, and selective with your energy, and they will stand at the gate with a sword, ensuring that no one, absolutely no one, disturbs your sanctuary. They treat your peace as sacred ground, and that level of understanding is the most romantic thing a Sigma can ever experience. Pause for a second. Have you ever had someone who just knew you were done with people before you even said a word? That telepathic connection is rare. If you felt that, hit the like button. And if you're still looking for it, share this with the person you wish would understand your silence. 4. The time jealousy. In the conventional lexicon of jealousy, the emotion is typically associated with the fear of romantic competition. When a partner becomes possessive, it is usually because they are terrified that someone else, a more attractive, wealthier, or more charming rival, will steal your affection. They guard you from potential suitors, check your phone, and interrogate you about your whereabouts to prevent a betrayal. However, when someone is deeply, insanely in love with a Sigma female, the jealousy takes on a profoundly different and more desperate form: time jealousy. This person is not threatened by other men because they intuitively understand your nature. They know you are fiercely loyal, selective, and completely immune to cheap flirtation. They know that if you wanted to leave, you would have already walked away. What they fear is not a rival lover, it is the rest of the world stealing you away from them. They are jealous of your job, your friends, your hobbies, and even your solitude, anything that consumes the finite hours of your existence that could have been spent with them. This manifests as a kind of resource hoarding. To them, time spent with you is a luxury commodity, a scarce resource that they are desperate to monopolize. When you say you have to work late, they don't get suspicious. They get visibly disappointed, almost heartbroken. They hate the idea that a corporate meeting or a deadline gets to have your brilliant mind for 3 hours while they get nothing. When you have plans with friends, they don't try to control who you see, but they might ask, "Can I see you afterwards, even for 10 minutes?" They are constantly trying to negotiate for more of your presence. They treat every minute with you as a victory and every minute apart as a loss. This possessiveness is not about control, it is about addiction. They have tasted the depth of your company, the quiet intensity of your focus, and now everything else feels like a cheap substitute. They want to be the default setting of your life. They want to be the person you wake up next to and the person you fall asleep talking to, with no interruptions in between. Furthermore, this time jealousy often leads them to prioritize you above all else in their own schedule. They will cancel plans, rearrange meetings, and drive hours just to spend a short amount of time with you. They view the opportunity to be near you as the highest possible use of their time. This behavior can be overwhelming for a Sigma who values her independence, but it is also deeply flattering. It signals that to this person you are not just an option, you are the main event. They are not trying to stifle your life, they are just terrified of missing out on it. They know that life is short and that your attention is rare, and they are fighting to secure as much of it as they possibly can. They are greedy for your moments because they know that every second spent with you is a second spent in the presence of something extraordinary. 5. They confess only to you. In the performative theater of modern society, most people move through life wearing heavy, impenetrable armor. We are conditioned to project strength, competence, and stability at all costs. To show weakness is to bleed in shark-infested waters. Men, in particular, are often taught that vulnerability is a liability, a crack in the foundation that will cause their status to crumble. However, when someone falls insanely, obsessively in love with a Sigma female, they instinctively realize that you are not like the others. You do not operate on the surface level of social niceties and judgment. You operate in the deep, dark waters of the human psyche. Consequently, they designate you as their vulnerability vault. This goes far beyond simply trusting you with their PIN code or their house key. They trust you with the black box of their soul. They confess things to you that they have never whispered to another living being, not their parents, not their best friends, and certainly not their previous partners. This behavior is the ultimate act of submission and intimacy. They will sit with you in the dead of night and peel back the layers of their persona to reveal the terrified child, the imposter, or the sinner underneath. They tell you about the childhood trauma that still dictates their reactions. They admit to the professional failures that keep them awake at 3 a.m. They confess their darkest fears, their strangest kinks, and their deepest insecurities. They do this because the Sigma female possesses a rare, almost supernatural quality, non-judgmental depth. You do not react to darkness with horror, moral posturing, or superficial platitudes like, "It will be okay." You listen with a calm, analytical empathy. You hold their gaze when they are at their ugliest. You validate their pain without trying to fix it immediately. To them, you are the only safe harbor in a world that demands they be perfect. This exclusivity is what makes the sign so potent. If they were an oversharer who spilled their guts to everyone, it would mean nothing. But the person who wants you all to themselves is usually stoic, composed, or guarded with the rest of the world. They maintain a strict boundary between their public image and their private reality. You are the only exception. You are the only one allowed to see them cry. You are the only one allowed to see them weak. This creates a profound psychological tether. They become addicted to the relief of being with you because you are the only place they can take off the mask and breathe. They want to hoard your time because every minute spent away from you is a minute they have to pretend to be someone they are not. They are terrified of losing you, not just because they love you, but because if you leave, they lose the only witness to their true self. They would have to go back to carrying the weight of their secrets alone. By making you their vault, they are effectively handing you the power to destroy them, trusting implicitly that you never will. That is not just love, that is a surrender of the ego. 6. The no-fix policy. In a world that relentlessly conditions women to be agreeable, accommodating, and perpetually soft, the Sigma female often finds herself labeled with a specific set of derogatory adjectives. You have likely been called intimidating, aloof, too intense, complicated, or simply too much by partners who were looking for a subordinate rather than an equal. Most people enter relationships with a subconscious fix-it agenda. They see your independence as a defect to be corrected, your silence as a problem to be solved, and your sharp boundaries as walls to be broken down. They want to sand down your edges until you fit into the round hole of their expectations. However, when someone is insanely, obsessively in love with a Sigma female, they operate with a completely different directive, the no-fix policy. They do not just tolerate your so-called difficult traits, they actively adore them. To them, your refusal to conform is not a flaw, it is the entire point. They are not looking for a project. They are looking for a partner who is already complete, and they find your autonomy intoxicating. This dynamic flips the script on traditional romantic power struggles. When you are being stubborn, analytical, or brutally honest, they do not get annoyed or try to tone you down. Instead, they smile. They find your defiance attractive. When you refuse to smile just to make others comfortable, they don't chide you for being rude. They respect your authenticity. When you lock yourself away to work on a passion project for 3 days straight, ignoring the world, they don't complain about neglect. They admire your focus. They are the person who brags to their friends, "Yeah, she's terrifying, isn't she? I love it." They are not interested in the domesticated version of you. They fell in love with the wolf, not the dog, and they have zero interest in putting a leash on a creature that was born to run wild. They understand that your hardness is what protects your softness, and they respect the armor just as much as they cherish the heart underneath. This acceptance is profound because it signals a rare level of security in the partner. Only a person who is truly confident in themselves can handle a woman who does not need them for survival. A weak partner needs you to be weak so they can feel strong. A controlling partner needs you to be pliable so they can feel in charge. But the person who wants you all to themselves is drawn to your strength because they want an equal. They are not threatened by your competence or your sharp tongue. In fact, they likely find it a relief. They don't want a yes woman who agrees with everything they say. They want a woman who will challenge them, debate them, and call them out on their nonsense. They know that your difficult side is the source of your power, and to try to fix it would be to destroy the very thing that makes you magnificent. They want the raw, unfiltered, uncut version of you, spikes and all. I have to ask, how many of you have been told you are too much or too difficult? And how many of you are waiting for the person who says, actually, you're just enough? Drop a Q or black heart in the comments if you refuse to change your personality for love. Let's see how many unshakable women are here. 7. You break their logic. In the structured, often rigid architecture of a high-value person's life, there is usually a rule book by which they operate. Successful, logical individuals, the kind who are most often drawn to the Sigma female, do not survive by accident. They survive by adherence to a code. They have strict boundaries, non-negotiables, and deal-breakers that they have refined over years of experience. They tell themselves, I never date co-workers. I never get involved in long-distance relationships. I never prioritize a partner over my career. Or, I never double text. These rules are their armor. They protect their time, their focus, and their emotional well-being from the chaos of modern dating. However, when someone falls insanely, obsessively in love with a Sigma female, a terrifying and beautiful phenomenon occurs: the exception rule. You become the singular anomaly that crashes their entire operating system. You are the glitch in their matrix that forces them to rewrite every line of code they have ever lived by. They look at their list of never-dos, look at you, and torch the list without a second thought. This behavior is shocking not just to their friends, who watch in disbelief as this disciplined person suddenly acts out of character, but often to the person themselves. They find themselves doing things that defy their own logic. The man who religiously needs 8 hours of sleep to function will stay up until 4 a.m. talking to you about the universe, simply because he cannot bear to hang up the phone. The woman who swore she would never date a fixer-upper or someone with a complicated past finds herself diving headfirst into your complexity, eager to navigate the maze. The person who is notoriously frugal suddenly spends lavishly on experiences for you, not to buy your affection, but because they want to see you smile. They compromise their own comfort, their own routines, and their own ego just to keep you in their orbit. When they say to you, I never do this for anyone else, it is not a pickup line. It is a confession of their own bewilderment. They are realizing in real time that the cost of breaking their rules is lower than the cost of losing you. This exception status is the ultimate proof of their obsession because it signifies that they view you as a black swan event, something so rare and unpredictable that standard protocols no longer apply. They understand on a primal level that if they apply their usual rigid logic to you, you will simply walk away. A Sigma female does not beg for exceptions, she embodies them. You do not ask them to break their rules. They do it voluntarily because they know that you are a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. They are terrified that if they let their code get in the way, they will regret it for the rest of their lives. So they twist themselves into pretzels to accommodate your needs. They drive the extra hour. They forgive the unreturned text. They tolerate the silence. They break their own logic because their love for you has transcended reason. You are not just another partner to be managed. You are the exception to every rule they ever made to protect their heart, and for you, they are willing to leave the door wide open. 8. The soul gaze. In the superficial, heavily filtered landscape of modern interaction, eye contact has largely become a lost currency. Most people, particularly men, have been conditioned to look at a woman rather than into her. They scan her body, assess her physical features, or glance distracted at their phones while she speaks. Their gaze is a consumer activity. They are evaluating a product. Even when they do make eye contact, it is often polite, fleeting, or socially performative, a way to feign interest while their mind wanders elsewhere. However, when someone falls insanely, obsessively in love with a Sigma female, the nature of their visual engagement undergoes a radical, almost predatory transformation: the soul gaze. This is not the shy, lingering look of a crush. This is a piercing, unblinking, and deeply intense stare that feels less like observation and more like an invasion. They look at you as if they are trying to physically memorize the architecture of your soul. They hold your gaze for a beat too long, crossing the line of social comfort into a territory of raw, unfiltered intimacy. It feels like they are drinking you in, bypassing the physical shell entirely to access the consciousness operating the machine. For a Sigma female who is accustomed to being unseen or misunderstood, even when she is in the spotlight, this gaze can be unnerving. You are used to hiding behind your silence, your intellect, or your cool girl persona. You are an expert at deflecting attention, but the person who wants you all to themselves refuses to let you hide. When you are talking, they do not look at your mouth. They look directly into your pupils with a laser-like focus that demands total transparency. They are searching for the micro-expressions that reveal your true feelings. They are trying to decode the sadness behind your joke, the fear behind your confidence, or the exhaustion behind your smile. It is a form of optical interrogation. They are silently asking, "Who are you really?" and they will not look away until they find the answer. This gaze creates a powerful, almost telepathic link between you. In a crowded room, they can catch your eye and have an entire conversation without uttering a single syllable. They can sense your discomfort, your amusement, or your desire simply by locking onto your frequency. This intensity is rooted in a profound desire for exclusive perception. They want to be the only person in the world who truly sees you. To everyone else, you might be the quiet girl in the corner, the boss, or the enigma, but to them, you are a universe to be explored. By locking eyes with you so intensely, they are effectively creating a visual force field around the two of you. They are shutting out the rest of the world. In that moment, nothing else exists. Not the noise of the party, not the distractions of technology, not the other people vying for attention. It is just you and them, suspended in a vacuum of mutual recognition. They are telling you without words that you are the most captivating thing they have ever seen, not because of how you look, but because of what you are. This soul gaze is addictive because it fulfills the deepest human need, the need to be fully, completely, and terrifyingly perceived by another consciousness. They don't just want to look at you, they want to witness you. 9. Building a world of two. In the lexicon of relationship psychology, isolation is almost exclusively flagged as a precursor to abuse, a tactic used by controlling partners to sever a victim's ties with their support network. However, when viewed through the prism of a high-value partner who is insanely, obsessively in love with a Sigma female, this drive transforms into something radically different and deeply romantic: the isolation desire. This is not an attempt to trap you in a cage. It is a desperate primal need to build a sanctuary where the rest of the world cannot intrude. The person who loves you with this level of intensity feels that the presence of others, even friends or family, dilutes the potency of the connection. They view the outside world as noise and their relationship with you as the signal. Consequently, their ultimate goal is to create a hermetically sealed micro-universe inhabited by a population of exactly two. They are not trying to cut you off from your life. They are trying to create a life with you that is so rich, so private, and so intoxicating that the outside world naturally fades into irrelevance. This dynamic manifests in the creation of a secret language. You will find that you develop a complex architecture of inside jokes, shared glances, and coded references that are completely unintelligible to anyone else. In a crowded room, they will say a single word or make a specific facial expression that triggers a shared memory, instantly transporting you both back to that private mental space. This exclusion of others is deliberate. They want to be the only one who gets the joke. They want to be the only one who understands the reference. It is a way of marking their territory on your mind. They are building a wall of intimacy around the two of you, brick by brick, until you exist in a bubble of two. Within this bubble, the normal rules of social engagement, the need to be polite, the need to filter your thoughts, the need to perform, are suspended. You can be weird, dark, silent, or loud, and they are there for all of it. Furthermore, this isolation desire often translates into a recurring fantasy or plan to physically escape. They are constantly pitching the idea of the cabin in the woods, the remote beach house, or the road trip to nowhere. They are not looking for a vacation. They are looking for a simulation of the end of the world where you are the last two people left. They crave a setting where there is zero cell service and zero distraction because they want to experience you in high definition without the static of modern life. For a Sigma female who often feels drained by the demands of society, this offer is seductive. It resonates with your own natural inclination toward solitude. But the difference here is that they are not asking you to be alone. They are asking to be alone with you. They are volunteering to be your permanent companion in the void. They are saying, I have seen the world, and frankly, I prefer the universe inside your head. This desire to lock the door and throw away the key is the ultimate compliment to your depth. It means they never get bored of you. It means that given the choice between a party with 1,000 interesting people and a quiet room with just you, they will choose the quiet room every single time without hesitation. They want to be stranded on a desert island with you, not out of necessity, but out of preference. This last one is powerful. That us versus the world feeling is addictive. If you've ever found that person who makes you feel like you're the only two people left on Earth, hit subscribe. We talk about deep, rare connections here, not shallow dating games. Join the 1%. If you recognize these signs in your own life, I need you to stop doing what you are programmed to do. Stop pushing them away. As a Sigma female, your default setting is defense mode. You have spent years, perhaps decades, mastering the art of solitude. You have built a fortress around your heart, complete with high walls, a moat, and a drawbridge that you rarely lower. You are used to protecting your space because, for most of your life, people have tried to invade it. They have tried to colonize your time, drain your energy, and dismantle your boundaries. So, when someone comes along who wants to be close to you, your instinct is to run. You interpret their intensity as a threat. You interpret their desire for closeness as a loss of your independence. But you are misreading the data. This person isn't trying to invade your space. They are trying to share it. There is a profound difference between a conqueror and a companion. A conqueror wants to own the land. A companion just wants to walk it with you. You must understand that this person sees you in a way that no one else does. To the rest of the world, you are a closed book, a puzzle, or perhaps just quiet. But to them, you are a universe. They see the galaxy inside your mind, the swirling nebulas of your thoughts, the dark matter of your trauma, and the bright stars of your potential. And they do not want to change a single thing. They want to be the astronaut who explores it. They are not asking you to shrink so they can feel big. They are asking you to expand so they can witness your full magnitude. They are the rare traveler who prefers the depth of the ocean to the safety of the shore. To be loved this insanely, this deeply, and this obsessively is rare. Most people settle for a lukewarm love, a convenient arrangement based on paying bills and watching TV, but a Sigma female cannot survive on lukewarm love. You will suffocate. You need fire. You need intensity. You need a partner who looks at your difficult traits and calls them masterpieces. So, do not fear the obsession. If it is healthy, respectful, and safe, it is the only kind of love that can handle a woman of your caliber. A normal love will eventually bore you or try to break you. An obsessive love, one that studies you, protects you, and cherishes your silence, will liberate you. It allows you to be exactly who you are without apology. Let them have you. Let them inside the walls. Not because you need them to survive, but because they are the only one who knows what the treasure inside the vault is truly worth. If you are finally ready to stop apologizing for your intensity and are ready to be loved for your darkness as well as your light, leave a comment below saying, "I am rare." It is time to stop hiding and start claiming your value. Thanks for watching, and as always, welcome to the top 1%.